now because I've got the
Nice.
on the audio, and we are here. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Hello. And the delay on my screen always throws me off because I always see it and I'm like, and then I wait, I see it and I'm like, oh come on, everyone talk, and then
Mm,
obviously I have to wait for the delay back. It's a really streaming is
yeah,
a mind melding process. Um,
we are not the most technologically clever, I guess.
no, I used to be when I was a kid, but now youngest sibling was like telling me stuff I had no idea, and I was like, wait, the what RAM? I don't wait what
Yeah,
when I
my most as far as my technical expertise goes is like Microsoft Excel, and even then I can't do that anymore.
good old Excel
Mm,
spreadsheets were where it's
mm,
at.
yeah,
Hi to Sir Wooly. Hi to your least favorite YouTube channel. That's a brilliant name. Um, so if you're here, you're glad to see that we will be going over the best video games in human history. And this list is obviously 100% correct.
mm.
There
I,
is,
w- I would not be told anything else.
yep,
Nothing.
yep. We are like unfathomably correct. If you disagree with us, you hate orphans. That's that's
That's the message I can get behind.
Yep, and that's how we're setting the tone of the stream. So before we get going to Denizen, do you want to let everyone know like where you're from, what you do, and where people can find you?
Yeah, so basically, I just well, my main thing is gaming, as anyone that knows me knows. You can check me out on TikTok on Denizen TG or on YouTube on Denizen TG with a little one on the end because YouTube have a handle thing now for some reason.
Yeah, they when they added that in, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea, and it is useful to be able to tag people and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah,
I just like the amount of I'm like mine's History Daddy like 28 something or other. I'm like, why? There's like
yeah. I had to sit there and like debate about the numbers and stuff, but I was like, I'm just going to put one. Like, I'm not putting. I can't be bothered to sit there and think of anything clever.
Yeah, it didn't bother. Like I was the amount of time I spent on the banner and all the profile picture, and I was like, this is just people will figure it out. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So before we get completely sidetracked, as is if you've ever seen all of my pre-recorded podcasts, so many of them are just like, um,
It's a character trait. It's a character trait.
oh yeah, no, I can do tangents in tangents in tangents. This is why I take forever to do anything. But
Yeah.
I'll let you get started on what is your. Should we start at number 10 or should we start at number one? What do you think? Should we work back?
I think start at 10. Start at 10.
Yeah,
Build
well,
anticipation.
build but work our way up. Okay, so I'll let you go first. What is
So,
the 10th best game of all time according
first
to
of
you?
all, I just want to get out there that I fully, understand that my list, my top favorite games doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're the best games ever made. If that makes sense, certain games will have more meaning to me than they will to someone that's not played them, and vice versa. So at number 10 in my top 10 favorite games, I have got Far Cry 3. Mm,
Oh, that's a
mm.
good. Do you know what? I was sitting there staring at my computer screen because I brought up my Steam library and I was like looking at the Far Cry 3 was this close to getting on the list
Yeah,
and just missed it.
it was one of those games that I felt like I couldn't not include just because of how good it was.
It was the peak. I will admit I haven't played it all the way through. Obviously, I know what happens because these were back in the days when I was in the little as every poor kid did growing up, watching every YouTuber playing it for us.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I would fully recommend checking it out at some point. I feel like a big portion of why it's so good
Mm,
and why I had to put it in top 10 is actually experiencing the gameplay yourself.
yes.
It is just such a well, it's an experience, really.
Mm.
To this day, I mean, Far Cry 3 came out in what, the mid to end 2000s, I think. And
Yeah, like late
I
noughties sort of thing.
yeah, I think it's still the best one they've done easily. Like they've not been able to top that since, and I think that says a lot about how much they put into the game and what was in the game itself.
I would argue because I played through all of Far Cry 5, which again came very very close to it, which is why I feel like there's definitely going to be a sequel to this stream because there was so
Yeah.
many games I had to take off.
Hmm.
Um, like for me, Far Cry 5 I think it's good for a completely different reason, but that's the only time I think Far Cry has really like peaked since. They haven't they haven't been able to get that storytelling ability, in my opinion, anyways.
Far Cry 5 is also a game I really enjoyed, and I feel like I just had to put Far Cry 3 on there ahead of it because of, I guess, the time it came out.
I mean, if you think about it, it's a revolutionary game for the time period it
Yeah,
was coming out in.
yeah. I think a lot of my list, I think, is going to be that kind of mindset, like the kind of impact they had and the time they came out at, and whatnot. That even if necessarily like that, there might be games that are better that have come out since. I think that
Mm.
the time they came out at is got to be a big factor when it comes to my
Oh
rankings,
yeah,
anyway.
like if you think about Far Cry 3, like I was when my PC broke, I actually took some time like to game for the first time properly in a few years
Yeah.
because normally I'm researching all the time, and I sat down and actually went through Horizon Zero Dawn again. Like I was playing for a bit more of that because I'm rarely on the PlayStation these days. And I was sitting there and I remember I was like it was like 3 in the morning. I was like, this is the basic like this layout is Far Cry 3. Every
Mhm.
game since Far Cry 3 really um as well, and another game that is on my list is quite hard that I'm not going to spoil. But every game since Far Cry 3 has had that sort of like map one location where it doesn't like not proper hand holding, but you have that like urge to explore and clear out locations specifically. Whereas the old
Yes.
dungeon crawlers like Elder Scrolls Arena and stuff like that, they were open. Yeah, you had open worlds, but you didn't have that urge to explore and clear the world.
Mm, mm. I think that is something that I guess Far Cry did really well, and
Mm.
not only that, but the characters as well. Like obviously, you've not played the game, but you've seen Vars.
Yeah, the
My
advance.
God,
Yeah, I,
so,
there isn't. Sorry, go on.
it's definitely up there in terms of the best villains in gaming history.
Oh, yeah, that's literally what
One
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I think that there is like because gaming is a very closed off space really when you think about it, like compared to films and but well books obviously is closed off in a different way, but gaming it's a very set group of people who enjoy it because you can't just sit down and enjoy a game. You're interacting, you're a part of the
Mm.
world. Like
Yeah.
even if you're not building a custom character, you are see it like you're a part. Your the decisions you make, even if there's no choices in the game, like an Assassin's Creed game, the tower you go up in the order, you do stuff, you have impact in the world. So it's a completely different medium, and
Mm.
but Vars like I know people who have never even watched a film who under like know who Vars is and quote Vars like
Mm.
he's I think it's the way he's like from the stuff I've seen. He's not evil per se, but he is just unhinged and
Yeah.
singularly focused.
He's very complex. He's very much a grey character, I'd say, where they do a
Mm,
really good job of explaining why he is the way he is,
yes.
and there's an element of sympathy in it. You do feel sorry for like the fact that he ended up the way that he ended up,
Yeah.
and the way that Far Cry 3 kind of goes, without like telling spoilers, I guess, is that it does a good job of showing you the main character of yourself as Jason, and it shows you kind of going down the same road he went down.
Mm.
So very much like a symmetry there, and it's really interesting to see.
I think the best villains are always the ones that you kind of understand and
Mm.
sympathize with. Like the
Yeah.
ones who are just off of being the good guy. I like one of my favorite villains. I'm trying desperately to I want to say Thanos, but the Thanos in the MCU is so weak compared to comic book Thanos.
I
Um,
like that they gave him a more complex outview, and like you have people coming out of the cinema saying about Thanos, like
being right and all
oh
that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean that alone says that they did a good job with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the comics, is basically his entire MO is like, I really want to get with death, so I'm gonna impress her by like killing everyone. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, so in the comics, yes, Thanos is essentially a simp. And like,
Aren't we all?
yeah, I have lost my train of thought of the villain I was particularly going for.
Mm.
Um,
It'll
it's
probably come
a
back to you
oh yeah,
at some point.
midway through the stream,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be like, it was
yeah,
him.
a big light bulb.
Yeah. But it's like I say, it's always the villains that just stick in your mind because you're sitting there and like, actually, that makes sense what you're saying. I
Mm.
get where you're coming from, and then you feel uneasy because you understand the point of
Yeah.
view of the villain.
Mm. I really enjoy games that make you think, like and put you into perspective. I guess make
Yeah.
you like question things. I
Heath
enjoy that.
Heath Ledger's Joker. That was it.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's Joker was the one I was thinking about because I felt so uncomfortable when I was like, half the stuff he's saying actually makes sense about society. I don't like like
You've got a good point. Just the way you've gone about it is a little
yeah.
bit naff.
Yeah, trying to blow up a few thousand people. It's not the best
Mm.
MO. Right. Okay. I will quickly have a look at the chat before I move on to my number 10.
Mhm.
Pumpkin Bear, my mod is in the chat. Hello, Pumpkin Bear. Do I mean open world? I believe so. I can't make sure. Far Cry was the beast that made that was inspired by GTA. Did GTA 5 come out after or before Far Cry 3?
GTA 5 came out. I would bet my house on. If I had to guess a year Far Cry 3 came out, I'd say 2007.
I was
That's my
yeah.
rough guess,
Hang
I
on, let me Google it.
believe.
Let me Google it. This is Far Cry 3 release. Oh, this is where Google's going to be like, in America it was da da da. Oh, 2012 actually. It's actually
What the
2012.
Okay, all right, ignore me.
It's right. It's fine. It's fine. We didn't compare it to GTA 5. We can get away with it. You've still got your house. It's fine. Um. Uh. Uh. I've never played any Far Cry, but I do know a bit about it. The trend of winning the game at the beginning is esoteric hype. I don't really understand that one, but I'll go with it. I get what you mean because I think he's basically your favorite YouTube channel is basically saying the games have got a lot easier, which I can, as someone who isn't amazing at games, I tend to go and do everything on the map and then
Mm,
become overpowered by the end of it. But I know a lot of
yeah.
people like Elden Ring fans and stuff really don't like that style of gameplay.
Do you know, I've never played Elden Ring.
Same, but I don't like Souls like games because I'm useless at games.
It's one of those ones that it's like on my bucket list of I know I need to try it. It's just it's this it just keeps getting pushed back, and there's all these other games as well. It's
Do you know a game I really want to try when I get the time is Shadow of the Colossus because it's like everyone I know that's played it raves about Shadow of the Colossus, and
that
it's
was
one.
one of those games that you said like it was you watched it on YouTube.
Mm,
I watched PewDiePie play it back in the day.
same,
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Good old PewDiePie.
Hmm.
Just don't let him near any bridges, and you'll be fine. I love that there's so many people that are gonna get that joke from just saying the
Mm.
bridge.
Oh,
Um,
bless you.
The best villains is the Hercules in the movie in the movie version of Hades. I agree with that. He's not evil for the sake of being evil, but you just feel bad for him. Yes, the Hades in Greek mythology, I feel bad for overall because he is just really hard done. But he's not actually well. He okay. He kidnaps Persephone, but like in this compared to the other Greek gods, Hades is actually a very nice guy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I know I can. Yeah, no, it's my Discord notifications chat. That's why. That's who you can hear. It's because I didn't know how to mute them. But it's fine. We'll just hear it as long as you can't see the Discord notifications. We're good. Um, okay, right. So that's the chat up to date.
Mhm.
I do feel I tell you what I do when you get these big streamers whose chats are like flying past. I because they read around and comment like how are you doing this? I
Yeah,
struggle. I struggle. My chat's got like there's 5 people watching us now, and that's enough. That's a struggle enough for me to look at. Right, with
it's
health facts.
definitely something that you need to get used to over time. I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Mm.
like XQC and that, just like reading 4 million comments ago. Um, right, my number 10. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me with this. A lot of
Mhm.
people, and I'm going to say it's because my first one in the franchise, and before this, I always slagged off the franchise and called it overrated. Um, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh.
yep. It's a
That's
controversial
you
choice.
you're going hard early with the controversy.
Yep. This was very nearly Odyssey, but I didn't have the stomach to go to that hard on the controversy. And
Mm.
obviously, whenever I put Odyssey high on the list, everyone goes, "Is it because it's set in ancient Greece?" And I immediately go, "Yes." That was
Fair enough.
the only reason Odyssey didn't make the list is purely out of frustration of the story's not there and it's not Assassin's Creed. I don't I like story based games. I like multiple choices. I like me having an effect on the world. If I'm
Oh
playing
yeah.
Assassin's Creed, I'm playing history. I'm playing memories. So when they put the choices in for me, the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey kills it. Like because I have too much choice because there's multiple endings. I don't want multiple endings. I want my Assassin's Creed story. But Origins to me is the perfect mesh of an open world Assassin's Creed game that we have now with Valhalla, which it is far too like vapid. It's shallow, the same as I would argue Odyssey is even more shallow. The only good thing about Odyssey I really enjoyed was the naval combat over the actual assassin. Because you're not an assassin, you're a mercenary. It doesn't work. But the Medjay can fit into the assassin fold. Yes, obviously Medjay weren't assassins, but there's still a bit of liberties. Um, uh, and also this was Origins was really the last game at Ubisoft before all of the allegations came out, and we really had to start judging Ubisoft. So, but you can see that from the way the team worked together, and obviously it was done by the same team that did Black Flag, which I think most people would argue is possibly one of the best Assassin's Creed games.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it was for me, it was a perfect introduction to the story because it didn't spoil the rest of the Assassin's Creed games. It gave you enough information. It was like go forth and enjoy, which is very similar to a lot of the Elder Scrolls games. It's like it doesn't overbear you with spoilers, and so you can go back to older stuff later on. Um, I'm gonna admit a big reason it's on this list is because it's my first Assassin's Creed game, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. So I know that that's what a lot of people are gonna call me out
That's
for.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've got. a point to make followed by a question.
Okay.
Okay. I think in terms of like multiple endings and multiple branches when it comes to story, I think that can be a good thing if done really well. Like certain games
Yes.
can
Yeah.
really like take that and run with it and just make you want to replay it to see the other endings.
Yeah.
And that is followed by my question: is that like this will depend on how controversial that is? Is that your only Assassin's Creed game on this list?
I cannot confirm nor can I deny. I'm not spoiling. Um, I cannot. Everyone will have to continue watching to find out. But the reason I say with us like the Odyssey falls flat is because like even Origins is so story heavy, but Odyssey actually, if you like the ending of Odyssey. After all the DLCs, nearly retcons all of the stuff that happens in Origins. It completely changes trying to be careful. It changes a certain characters who's very pivotal to the formation of the Brotherhood. There, I nearly said the gender, which gave it, could have given it away. Because in the Origins, there's only two people that are very pivotal, so I'm being very careful. But it changes someone's like story and date of birth, and also they get the pyramids built in the wrong time period. Which I'm sitting there like for a game where it started off in Assassin's Creed 1, they removed the crossbow because it was
Yeah,
historically inaccurate, and now we have rainbow bridges and reindeer that you can ride.
yeah. Assassin's Creed is really a franchise that it's. I don't know if it's completely fallen off, but it's really not in the place that it used to be.
Mm.
And it's quite like sad to see in a way because I don't really like I don't prey on the downfall of any gaming franchises or
No,
anything. I want to see them do well,
yeah,
and
obviously.
get a game like Assassin's Creed is one of those ones that you hope every new release they do, you're like, oh, this will be the one, this will be
Mm.
the one, and it just hasn't been so far.
I think Origins was because I know another controversial opinion, and I very I get there's too many good games on the list, so I had to cut it off. I think I'm the only person on the planet that ever liked Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Um, and I mainly played as Eve. Jacob was boring and underdwelling, but I think Evie Fry was cool. But I think Origins was the last time you had characters that, as you were playing, you cared about. Like I cared about I really, really wanted to go and get every single cultist. I like when you get that intro and you feel, but like you feel Bayek's pain and like he has sacrificed. Whereas in Odyssey, I'm like I don't feel like anything was impactful. Bad stuff happened, but I was like eh. Whereas yeah, like Bayek and Aya Arminet, like you. I would have liked to explore Aya's story more. I think that's the only thing that really knocks Assassin's Creed Origins down because you don't really get enough time with Aya. She's sort of like sidelined, and given how she is possibly the most important person in the Assassin's Creed lore, when you look at the Ezio games, like she's like Bayek isn't even mentioned. Why is Bayek not mentioned? But she is, and then we spend all our time with Bayek.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like a franchise that doesn't really have a direction.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're kind of making it up as they go along.
I think, in my opinion, that's like Assassin's Creed Origins. Like I said, it's my first game. It is the the lost child, as it were, because the other games are all very open world focused, whereas Origins has that assassin focus to it still. So it works as an Assassin's Creed game. So what I would have done with Assassin's Creed was I would have ended the main series and then just done a load of offshoots in the world. I think that would have been a smarter option for Assassin's Creed rather than just using the name.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. I think Assassin's Creed. One thing I really want from Assassin's Creed is I want them to go more into the. I want to see another pirate game. I'm not gonna lie. That might just be
Yes.
biased, but it might be because we don't have a lot of pirate games around these days.
Well,
Well,
we
ever.
got Skull and Bones coming in 2040 probably.
Have you seen like the not the leaks? Just how that game's looking.
Oh, it does. It
It's
looks
not.
horrific. I
It's
don't
not
even.
looking good at all.
I hate any game that forces me to play, because I very rarely play multiplayer stuff. Any game that forces me to go on multiplayer and online really bugs me. I'm like, why can't I have a single player story? I play like I love the Battlefield games. I very rarely go on in multiplayer, but I actually play through the stories. Like, it's, yeah, the gameplay isn't there, and I don't think, for a game that was started production just after Black Flag started, because everyone loved the
Yeah.
ship combat. If it's taken, what, close to 15 years at this point, maybe just give up on the game.
It's just from what we've heard about it as well. It just doesn't feel like it's anywhere close to being worth playing. Like apparently, actual docking of ships and taking ships. Apparently, that's cutscenes and whatnot. This is so.
It's like it's like apparently Starfield is gonna be cutscenes as well when you leave the planet. Well, we've already have multiple ship games where you can go from. I said there was gonna be loads of tangents and tangents. There, when you can go from the bottom of the planet to the like into space. I'm like, this what annoys me with Bethesda. They're always about 10 years behind everyone else, like technology wise. I
that's
love
generous.
Bethesda. Oh
That's
yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
generous.
Like, and this is someone like, I'm a Bethesda fanboy through and through, and I like it, like, if every Bethesda fanboy has to be honest at some point and go that Bethesda is not a good games company. They
Yeah.
have good worlds, but we need Mr. Todd Howard, stop. You need stop it. Get some help. Um,
Yeah, that's the best way to talk about Bethesda. You know, stop it, get some help, get
yeah,
some help. You know?
yeah. Stop relying on modders to fix your games. You can't have
Yeah,
them release broken.
exactly that, exactly that.
All right, okay. We briefly spoke about Assassin's Creed Origins there, but before I went on a tangent. But do you want to do your number 9?
I do. This is one of those ones that I'm looking at it and I can't decide if it should be there. I'm gonna go. This is subject to change, but
Okay,
right
okay.
now I'm gonna go Modern Warfare 2, the original one.
I've never played it. I've never played it. I'm gonna be honest. I know, oh, I've let you down so much there. I've let you down.
I've named two games and you've not played either of them.
I've never been a Call of Duty person. I've never been. Do you know what's funny? I have Modern Warfare 2 on. I'm assuming this is the original, because no, they've only
Original.
remade. Yeah, have they remade both of them, or just the one at the moment?
They've remade the first Modern Warfare. They've
Yeah.
remade the second one, and next year this year now, they're going to be remaking the third one. But no, my Modern Warfare 2 is the
The
OG one,
the
2009.
proper one, because I know they changed a lot of the story around in the remakes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw a lot of people complaining. Like, good old Twitter was was aflame for a few days. But what brought Modern Warfare 2 to the list?
It was one of those ones that I couldn't not put it on the list just because of how big of a game it was at the time and how much of an impact it had on not only me but my friends as well.
Mm.
It was one of those ones that you'd all go around someone's house and play it in the sitting room and do 1v1s and 2v2s, all that kind of stuff. Me and my friends were at the age where, well, it come out in 2009, so we were 10 years old when it first came out. And it's one of those ones that we loved it so much. We used to dress up as army men and go out and pretend like we were playing the game and stuff. Like we were in that world, we'd be the characters and stuff. And it's so cringe to think about, but it's memories that I wouldn't take back, and it's because of that game that I have those.
I think that's just part of gaming. You fall in love with like the characters in like so deeply in some cases that you just want to, like, you, even when you're not playing the game, you want to be playing the game, so you make the game a real world thing. It's just such a good part of childhood. I can remember distinctly as a kid. I was about 12 or 13, like, with my brother, when obviously, like, it's a bit cringe because I do consider myself a bit older at that point, but I can remember walking around a house like pretending I was casting spells, like, and stuff like that. Yeah, I get what even though I haven't played the game, I get exactly where you're coming from, because it puts a lot more emotional impact on it as well.
it was such a big deal when it came out, and I don't know what you know about the game, but like there's a certain like betrayal scene in the game that is just so iconic
I
that it still hurts people now.
I do know of the betrayal scene. I think
Yeah.
that like that's one of those other things, much like Vast, it's one of those things that sort of transcended the Call of
Mm.
Duty fandom and gaming as a whole. Is everyone knows that like shocking twist at the end.
It felt like something out of like it didn't feel out of something from gaming, if that makes like because even though these weren't characters that you'd spent a lot of time with, you know, like
Mm,
you would a TV show or something, it still felt you were experiencing that through them.
yeah.
Like you were being betrayed as they were being betrayed. And it's just it come so out of left field, and it's just man, I'm still not over it.
Do you know what that's called? Like everyone I know that's really into Call of Duty, they bring up betrayal and they'll always I'm still like they're still not have like recovered from it.
I still, you know, I'm trying to sleep, and I still like see, you know, Ghost in flames, and it's just
That's why, but their character. I think like they're characters that you sort of, but like you say, you're feeling the betrayal with them, but you at the same time these people you've looked up to, and you want to be Ghost, you want to be Price, and
yeah.
all that jazz, and you're just sitting there like, how is this happening? What like, and also what an end like how you where do you go forward from there? Like that must have been shocking playing it like
It definitely made the rest of the game be more like okay, like now it's on, like now we're gonna go get this fucker, you know.
yeah. Wait,
It was
that's not even the ending. I thought it was an end. I thought that was the
no,
ending.
that happens about. There's still about like 5 missions left.
It's true.
The rest of it,
So you have it happen, and you've got no time to recover, and you're like, right, back to it. We've got to sort this guy
yeah,
out.
yeah, pretty much. You don't. I didn't get to Mon.
The
I gotta go
game,
kill more things.
the game, quite literally just like started slapping you around the face at that point. Like,
Yeah, no, it was. That's what I mean. It was an experience. Well, I guess that's like after it happens, you're moved into the soldier. The soldier that you go to is one of them. Obviously, he's in the same unit, so
mm,
obviously you're then kind of reacting as he is, where you've just found out that your boys have just been, you know, massacred, basically,
yeah,
and you know, you've got to deal with it now. There's no time to, I guess, mourn. You've got to like you're in a situation that you've got to now get out of yourself.
I think that actually that just show that's the sort of game design you wouldn't get now, which is have you seen all of the devs getting mad at the Baldur's Gate people? They're going, oh, you
I've
shouldn't.
not.
So the controversy at the moment is a load of devs are coming out and saying because Baldur's Gate is so massive and big, where they've taken so much lot time and care to build the game up. Um, all of the other devs are coming out and saying we shouldn't expect games this expansive and deep and rich in the future, and it's bad to think about that. And I'm like, so you're basically saying we should expect bad games from you? Cool, you just so I know not to buy games from your any games that you've developed then.
Yeah. Wait, just I'll give him a shovel. You know, just
Yeah, like, and any other dev that's like come out against it, they've gone, oh no, you should stand in solidarity, and I'm like, no, you just don't want to work. You're
yeah. I think that's something that's missing from a lot. Like a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I think most of my list is older games because I think that a lot of newer games is just that it doesn't feel like the passion's there. You
oh,
know, it's
100%.
being made to fill a quota, not because this is like a game that they wanted to create.
Yeah, like going back to Odyssey, that's how Odyssey felt to me. Odyssey actually had controversy on it because where you get a lot of the woke company claims and stuff, Ubisoft went the other direction and decided so the whole reason Odyssey apparently has a male and a female lead is because they didn't think that a woman could sell games. Tomb Raider
Okay.
exists. Tomb
Yeah,
Raider
that was
exists.
about to be my next comment.
Like, and it obviously the to me like because half of Odyssey you spend so much time where the game where they've had to do the lines twice and to save money obviously the emotion the actors just aren't as good
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah, I get it.
but that but obviously you can see that halfway through they've clearly had to switch it up and so they've just slapdashed all of the male storylines in so it doesn't work but that's what I mean like where with that where you have to immediately go on to your next mission you're another guy then you're having his exact like he's having the exact same emotional like like trauma as you are in a way, where you've just watched this, you've had this happen to characters you love, and then you've just
Yeah,
got to go and deal with it, and that's the exact same thing. And I think that sort of game design we haven't seen in at least 5 years, in my opinion.
I can get behind that. There's nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
last, I can't think of a game that's actually had me. Actually, the last season of, oh, I've just realised that I didn't put any of the Walking Dead's on the list. The Walking Dead Telltale games. This we're gonna
We'll
end
put
up
it
doing
in
a
an
sequel.
honourable mention.
Yeah, but the last season of the Walking Dead Telltale games, like that had me. Actually, no, that's over 5 years ago. So it's still, there's nothing in 5 years that's had me emotional about a
Yeah,
game.
yeah. I feel Modern Warfare. Going back to Modern Warfare 2, it's such a satisfying because obviously you feel that way, and in the final mission when you get your revenge, it's so like not only is that for me, but that's for them as well.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you feel vengeance. Like,
yeah. You feel like you've righted a wrong sort of thing,
yeah,
which is
exactly that. And it's so sad. It's one of the most satisfying endings to a game I have ever played, easily.
oh yeah, no, it's that. It sounds I have a contender for a satisfying ending for a game though coming up. Um, right, okay, let's quickly have a look at the chat. I used Assassin's Creed to map my understanding of geography. That's fair enough. I want to play Assassin's Creed and I haven't yet, so don't spoil it. Don't worry, we're avoiding spoilers. Can we get some Subway Surfers gameplay at the bottom?
That's not a bad idea.
Get that. That's the kids nowadays are like so distracted by everything. I swear.
If you upload it on TikTok, if you upload any clips on TikTok, you're gonna have to do that now.
Yeah, there's little Subway Surfers
Yeah,
gameplay. Someone who plays Battlefield for the campaign and also a TE Lawrence simp. Battlefield 1 has an amazing campaign, I agree, but I haven't played the Battlefield 1 campaign yet. I started to and then I realised I should probably do it for a video because it fits so
that's a
well.
good idea. It's a good
Um,
idea.
Same, that's me with Halo Reach. I still feel down about it. I
Mm.
had all of the Halo games recommended to me. I've never actually played them. I'm sounding like such an anti-gamer here. I know. I played Fantasy. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dennis. I'm sorry. Um. All right. I play a lot more of relaxing games, sort of Potion Craft, Alchemy Simulator, Stardew Valley, and Minecraft. From what I've heard from a lot of Minecraft players, Minecraft does not sound relaxing. Does I've heard like so many people like they just start talking about the creepers and then they just go off in a trance.
It,
Um,
it very much depends on on what's going on around you. It can be quite a peaceful game, and then at other times you can literally be fighting for your life.
yeah,
It's one of
running
those.
running away from zombies and all that.
Yeah, one hundred
Um,
percent.
and I have more new ones. If you want relaxing, play City Skylines. City Skylines is like that's a Paradox game. I do like Paradox games, but I can never get around City Builders. They're just not for me.
Yeah, I get you there. I enjoy games where like you can like build things up, but at the same
Mm,
time, it's not for me.
yeah,
Not
I
that.
don't get me wrong. I've played I all of the Crusader Kings 2, 3, Hearts of Iron 4, Europa Universalis, all that. I love a good strategy game. I love the map painter games, but I just can't get around City Builders.
There is a game on my list where
No,
like you
don't
do.
spoil it. Don't spoil it.
I'm not gonna. I'm just. I'm hinting.
Oh,
I'm
okay, okay.
teasing. There's a game on my list like that where like you got the building up aspect, but I prefer games like that where you are actually in that world. Like it's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
hard. It's kind of hard to do it like a city builder if I'm just watching the city.
Yeah,
You know, it'd be cool if I could be in it, live
yeah.
in the city, and see
Explore,
how what I'm doing makes a difference.
explore the world you're creating. So, like, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Um, my game glitched and my Dark Souls save deleted. I was halfway through the game. Oh no, that's knowing how hard Dark Souls is. That can't have been fun.
that is very rough.
I never beat a Dark Souls' favorite. Not gonna read the last bit of that comment because of the YouTube guidelines, but fair enough. Right, okay. Time for my number 9, which I feel like this is actually going to be a very vanilla choice. Mass Effect,
Which one?
first one.
Okay, yeah, I see. I see that.
Um,
That's a respectable choice.
I just for I mean, BioWare is possibly was one of my favorite companies. Again, they like so many others, they have fallen quite drastically from grace. But
Oh yeah.
I remember booting up Mass Effect for the first time, uh, and just loading into this world because I've always been more of a fantasy fan than a science fiction fan. I've always preferred fantasy,
Yeah.
um, and I just remember like loading into this world and absolutely blown away at the depth of like the racial divisions between on a galactic scale, and like how the humans are fighting to be like revered as a like a galactic species. We're still seen as like the stupid little apes to everyone who just
Yeah.
act out occasionally, and it's just then you have the overarching like plot, and you get this whole like as you're going through the game, you get this sense because you're trying to argue with the council that they need to listen to you about the Reapers, and the whole time they're just ignoring it because they just want to talk about politics. And I'm like, as I've got older, I appreciate it more for like the mirror of the real world that it is, and it's just you get it's so frustrated because you're like, I don't care about who's on the council or who's shooting down X person's trade exports. We're all going to die.
I, I I do think it's good. Like, there's a lot of media that obviously, as you've seen that you might not have appreciated it so much when you were younger, but when you come back to it as an adult and you understand more, like it's like a completely different experience.
Mm.
You're able to just appreciate it so much more.
100%. That even the later Mass Effect games didn't really like because everyone understood the Reapers at that point, and so you still had the political bureaucracy. Um, it wasn't as heavy-handed. Whereas it was just I don't think I've ever had an experience since where you spend most of the game not just fighting the enemy, but having to convince everyone else that the enemy is in fact a thing.
Yeah. Did you ever watch I can't remember his channel name off the top of my head. I think it's Manslayer. He used to make like funny videos around like games like Mass Effect and Fallout and Skyrim and whatnot.
I
Just skits
I
and stuff.
I have a very vague memory. I think he was a machinima guy, wasn't he? When machinima
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
big time thing. I have a very vague memory of yeah.
yeah.
I think yeah.
Will bang, okay, like
Yeah.
that used
But
to get me every time.
that is I mean it's not even untrue to Mass Effect as well. Like all any BioWare game is that there's at least one scene where characters are to how do I word this for YouTube, disrobed and wrestling, like BioWare do like sneaking in a bit of cardio into their games.
That's, exercise is important, kids.
Yeah, exercise is a very important part of your routine.
Mm. Respectable choice, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I liking it so far.
Okay. Right. Do you want to move on to your number eight?
Number 8 is something that I feel like I'm gonna change on the fly.
Okay. Okay.
Because I feel like number 8 and number 9, my original number 8 could have gone similar with my number 9.
Okay.
My original number 8, I'll say my original number 8 and my number 8 that I'm changing. The original one I had was Black Ops 2, which is another Call of Duty game. And
Okay.
it's just it,
Haven't played it either.
that's why that's one of the reasons I'm changing it. Just because a lot of the reasons for it are similar to the Modern Warfare 2 in that, like, how much it affected me and like I was able to play it with my younger brother and whatnot, and I got a lot of memories out of that. So
Cool.
my new number 8. Have you ever played a little game called Ghost Recon Wildlands?
No, I haven't. Me and FPS games are a very loose bag.
It's a third-person shooter. Have you know?
Do you know what's really funny? Talking about Ghost Recon Wildlands, about third-person shooters. I very nearly put Spec Ops: The Line in what would
Mm,
be my number 8 spot. I came very very close, but I just cut out to certain games.
Yeah,
So I have
yeah.
played similar games to it, but I know unlike Call of Duty, I actually do know a decent bit about the Ghost Recon Wildlands and stuff because I know it didn't have a controversy about being always online or something. Or am
I,
I thinking the wrong Ghost Recon?
I think you're thinking of the one after it. Ghost Recon Breakpoint had quite a lot of controversy around it
Yeah.
when it first. That
Oh,
was
okay,
the
I'm
one
getting them
with
mixed up.
Breakpoint's the one that has John Bernthal in it. That's the one that
Yes.
kind of gets a lot of controversy.
Yeah, yeah,
Wildlands is actually remembered quite well. It's not so much a story game; it's more of the gameplay that puts it where it is. I'd say it's a for anyone that doesn't know, it's a four-player game, or if you're not playing with three friends, then you're given three AI squad mates, and it's an open world game where you're playing as a small special forces team,
yeah, yeah.
and you basically your job is to just disrupt this entire massive drug cartel, and you just do it mission by mission by mission, and it's like it's a game where you just do things in whatever order you want. You can go, and you also get to decide how you want to do things. So like say there's a factory that we need to go and destroy something inside it. Like
Mm.
we can go in all guns blazing. We can get an armored truck and just go straight in through the gate, or we can like sit up on a hill, find an elevated position, and just completely stealth the whole thing. It's a very much in your hands how you want to do things.
I like that sort of stuff because it's not like the freedom that we're offered now where it's like choose between these three predetermined speech bubbles, whereas like that's proper like freedom of gameplay where
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're deciding how you're going to tackle this task. And I think that's something a lot of developers miss now because I like that's why I fell in love with the Assassin's Creed series, especially the older games, is that am I going to just charge straight in? Am I going to spend the next 4 hours of gameplay steadily climbing around this cathedral and then jumping off midway through because the game decided to? Like, that sort of deciding what you do is an amazing feature of gaming.
Mm. Oh yeah, 100%. I like that it kind of like it's not one of those ones where say you play a Rockstar game where it's very handholdy. You need to do it this way or the mission
Yeah,
fails. We can try to go in stealthily, and if they see us and the whole bloody Bolivian military comes in, like that's not a mission failed. That's just something you got to deal with.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's very much as you say, freedom, and I loved that about the game so much.
I think it also works better because, like, I remember playing Dishonored, another game that I really wanted to put on the list. But it's just that when things go wrong and you just have to deal with the guards now, you have to deal with the fact that you're gonna get more chaotic and more people are gonna see you and stuff. Like
Mhm.
there was a couple where it was like you had to get the stealth mission, and I hate those ones because they're the most restrictive missions. But when you just sit there and like, okay, right, it's I wanted this mission to be completely stealthy, and I've messed it up, so I have to live with the consequences now, and I can either go back of my own volition to an earlier save or not. So again, it's that you have to fight with the consequences of your own actions, which
Oh yeah.
again brings you deeper into that
Mm.
world. Because in the real world, if you mess up, you've got to live with that, and you've got to figure out a way around it. You can't just go back.
I think the best games are ones that make you feel like you're actually experiencing what's
Mm,
going on,
mm,
and consequences to my actions. Like I can have of like I said in the Rockstar game, I can have like a mission fail screen, or I can have a like oh god, now I've got to deal with this.
yeah,
Like it makes you more switched on, more focused, more like oh I have to get this right, or there's going to be consequences.
exactly. Yeah, because it's just a very subtle way of bringing you into the game.
Hmm.
I feel,
Hmm.
anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll move on to my number eight, which I have a feeling that you probably won't have played because it is very niche. Crusader Kings 2, which is a
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
it's a medieval strategy game, which is like the history nerds like a dream game where you essentially you players you can play from a count all the way up to an emperor. and you basically run a dynasty in medieval Europe, and then the DLCs added more parts of Africa and India and whatnot. Um, the reason it's on the list is just because I have like I grew up obviously like there was a great outlet for being a history nerd and like somewhere that could really scratch the sort of I wish I was an ancient conqueror or an ancient king,
Yeah,
like charging. Like every guy has that fantasy where even though we 100% could not do it, we like that fantasy of us being like full kitted out king armor, charging in front of our troops, giving the rousing speech, and then charging off into the enemy. And obviously,
yeah,
like where it's not like a total war game where you can actually command the troops, but you still get that like the intrigue and the diplomacy and the idea you're walking around your palace as a king.
yeah. Yeah. I think that medieval period games, if done right, can really
Mm.
suck you in. And if you're not already interested in that kind of time period, it can definitely draw you in and spark a whole hobby. Really,
Oh yeah.
you're like, oh, I need to know more about this.
Oh yeah, and because we have like you get a lot of games where they try and go back to like ancient Celtic Britain and stuff, but because we don't have the records, you get the feeling that it's been rebuilt. Whereas we have the records for medieval Europe and India and all that, so you can actually you feel like you're making an impact on this world that otherwise you would have never been a part of.
Mm, mm, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm. Okay, right. And for your number, because I've just realised the time, so we've probably speed up a little bit. I said to you earlier, yeah, it'll only take an hour. Don't worry. Your
No,
number.
I'm committed. I'm a committed person.
We're going all in. We're going all in. Your number 7.
My number 7 is going to come off as very basic and cliche, but I'm going to go with. Some people might assume this would be higher. I'm going to go with Red Dead Redemption 2 in
Whoa.
number 7. It's such a good game. It's such a good game. I couldn't not include it and like put it where it is.
Mm.
Like I couldn't have it any lower just because of how much is in the game, and it's not a perfect game. Like I know I'll probably get some hate for that.
There's a
Like
lot of hardcore Red Dead fans out there.
the law of like Red Dead fans is that like you say one bad thing about this game, that means you hate it and
Mm.
you're scum. I love this game, but I know it's not perfect. There's certain aspects that I'm like, well, I wish it didn't do that, or it could be improved in this way. But the overall experience is just it. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 easily.
I think that's a fairly common consensus of like, there's a lot of people that try and do the whole 10 out of 10. There's no game
Yeah.
out there that's 10 out of 10. Like,
I think it's hurt by the fact like when I rank games, when I give it like a number out of like 10,
mm,
I include the whole package.
yeah,
And I think because of how badly done the online aspect of the game was, I think that has to affect the score.
yeah, I know a lot of like, because if you think about it, like GTA 5's online is still going, but Red Dead's online
Mm,
is very, very sparse. There's not a lot, there's barely anyone like, because Red Dead's another one of those ones where I only played, when the whole hype came out and got the game, and I only played like the first 3 or 4 hours, so I barely touched the game when you think like how much is available to it. But
mm.
you it's I always call it I got it with Origins, but I always call it the Skyrim feel. So like you open up the game and you go, wow, I can explore this, I can talk to this, and you just get that feeling of there's a whole world to explore. And
Oh yeah,
Red
yeah,
Dead 2 is one of those games that gets that perfect.
yeah. I completely agree. Like even the characters are done so well. The story, seeing everything unravel, and the
Mm.
detail in the game. The story, the single player anyway. It's just it's one of those ones that you don't. There's not very many games like it, especially these days.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I'd love to praise Rockstar, but as the last couple of years, especially, they've
Yeah, they're testing my patience a bit.
yeah, I saw your video on TikTok the other day where you really dragged Rockstar for Phil.
Well, I think they deserved it.
Yeah, they do. It's
Yeah, it's just they're they don't need to make the decisions they do. You know, they make enough money as is.
Yeah, oh yeah, they've gone to, as like, 'cause as I said earlier, I'm a massive Bethesda fanboy, and
Mm.
it's the same as Bethesda. Bethesda is
Mm.
not the company it was 11 years ago, or not how it no, like 13, 14 years ago now when it made Skyrim.
Those are
Um,
two companies that really do mirror each other in a sense. I see
yeah.
that. I do see that.
Oh yeah, no, Rockstar and Bethesda, like, because they, if you think about it, they have two game series that everyone raves about and really focuses on. Obviously,
Yeah.
Red Dead and GTA and um, Fallout and and Elder Scrolls. But you can see in like the way Bethesda acted around Fallout New Vegas, they I know obviously a lot of the shady stuff that's debunked, but you can only, whenever they're asked about Fallout and New Vegas gets brought up because universally to Fallout fans, it's the best Fallout game.
Mm.
There's a bitterness to it, and Fallout 4 is nowhere near as good, in my opinion. And it's I have a funny feeling that the next Red Dead and next GTA are going to follow alongside that
Well,
sort of trend.
that's even if we get another Red Dead.
Yeah, I mean it's been it's been still working on GTA 6 for like a million years at this
If,
point.
if we get Red Dead 3, we will be too old to play it.
Yeah. The same as next Elder Scrolls. The Elder Scrolls 6 will
Yeah.
come out. I will have grandkids when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.
What did they say? It's going to be about at least 5 years until the next game comes out.
I just remember in 2015, I think it was, when they announced Fallout 4, everyone jokingly said, "When's the next Elder Scrolls?" And they said, "Oh, we'll probably come out about like 2019, 2020." And then obviously things roll around, Starfield gets announced, and they announced that Elder Scrolls 6 is in development, and they
Yeah.
go, "Oh, it's going to be a while. We're going to expect release Starfield about 2021, and but don't worry, I think you are going to have to wait for next Elder Scrolls, but it will only be a long wait till 2023." And the last I checked, they're expecting the next Elder Scrolls to release at about 2026, 2027.
Yeah, that's it's so hard to fathom time in that sense. Like, it's going to be that long until I experience a newer Skyrim. Like,
I do hope Starfield is obviously a success.
oh yeah, me too.
I have my doubts, but we won't get into that. Um,
I don't want to see them go in a downfall. I want to see them get better.
yeah,
I need
no,
to believe.
please don't go full EA. Please don't
Yeah,
go full. Right. Do you have anything else for
I
Seven?
I think everything I think most people know what's good about Red Dead 2. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. I've said everything I need to say about Red Dead 2. It deserves its spot on the list easily.
Now for me to have another controversial opinion.
Yeah, huh?
My number 7 is Mass Effect 3.
Oh, okay.
I'd say this because this is the closure of all of the lines, all of the webs that you have weaved. And I'm not going to say what happens to these characters, but all I'm going to say, and Mass Effect fans will immediately know and understand, Mordin and Legion, right? If you played the storyline in a specific way, you got have a real, because Mordin and Legion were my two favorite characters from Mass Effect 2 onwards, and Mass Effect 3, how their story ended, at least for me in Mass Effect 3, broke my heart. Like Mordin and Legion's story actually is one of the few times I've genuinely sobbed over a video game, and it's
Hmm.
like hard for me to have that, and it's just the only reason that Mass Effect 3 is not higher on this list is because overall, with that emotion and all of that good storytelling, inevitably you know that your ending is going to come down to pick the pretty colour.
You know, I've never played Mass Effect 3, but am I right in saying wasn't the ending really controversial?
Yeah, it comes down to
Three.
they ignore all. I don't know. I'm gonna be careful with spoiling it, but it's essentially you all of your choices you've made essentially get ignored. Like the rest of the game wraps it up, yeah, but essentially it's pick what ending you want. You literally, and I
Okay.
mean like you pick the ending you want.
Yeah, even though I'd never played it, it was one of those games that I knew about, and I saw all the controversy around the ending and all the memes and stuff. So it definitely had an impact.
I like the fact that the ending was considered so bad that BioWare and EA got bullied into making a DLC to fix the ending, and it still didn't fix the ending.
Didn't that happen with We're getting sidetracked again, but didn't that happen with Fallout 3 when the
Yes,
original
yeah, they
ending was
did
so bad
because
they had to extend it?
Fallout 3 just so Fallout 3 is like one of the few Fallouts I haven't played. The ending was controversial because
Hmm.
the game ends. Like so in New
Yes, right.
Vegas you get your little in and 4 you get your little this is the story of the wasteland. Well done. Okay, now go and play the DLC. In Fallout
Yeah.
3, you got your little story and then the game ends, and if you wanted to do anything else you then had to go to an earlier save. So you didn't get
It,
to continue in that world. That was
it,
it. That's the game.
yeah, it wasn't even like necessarily. It was that as well, but it was also the fact that it felt really like forced. Without spoiling it, I remember playing it and thinking like, there is absolutely a way around this. Like, I don't have to go in and do this thing. I could easily there. I'm literally staring at another option in the face, but the game's like, no, no, you have to do it. Like,
It's, I know I mean because I have a rough idea of the ending like the certain choices that were controversial with the ending of Fallout 3, and
mhm.
I think it goes to show that even back then Bethesda was very reliant on mod because there's a mod to fix the ending. It's one of the most popular mods on the Nexus right now is
Okay.
fixing Fallout 3's ending. And I think it goes to show that Bethesda is so heavily reliant on modders fixing their game that they are happy to just shove stuff out like that.
I think Bethesda are one of those companies that they're very like, what we believe is best, and just deal with it.
As as
But, uh,
As Todd Howard once said, it just works.
it just works. I quote that all the time.
Me whenever anything breaks, it just works.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, your number 6.
Do you know this is going to be funny? My number 6 is a game I've never played.
Okay,
Mm. But it's a game that. Okay, I'm going to name the game and I'll go from there. Armor Free. Is
I've
that a
never
game you?
played it, but
I've also never played it.
I know the deep community behind it.
Do you know what it is?
Isn't it like the most realistic military shooter, or supposed to
Yes.
be?
Yeah, it's one of those games that like, even though I've never played it, I have watched like so many like YouTube videos and whatnot of people playing the game, and I've got so much enjoyment out of just seeing those videos and like because it's one of those that, because it's a really realistic game and a community behind it, people will try and like play it in a serious way, but a lot of the
Hmm.
times you can get really funny things happen from it. I don't. Have you ever watched Soviet Womble?
Yes, yeah, I've watched. He does.
Yes.
Soviet Womble does all the role play ones where they like pretend to be like the British troops, where they mod it and they're like in the Zulu conflict and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like that. His videos on Armor Free, and there's probably so many others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I watch, I've watched so much of that game that I can't not include it in my list, because without that game existing, I wouldn't have things to watch when I don't have anything. Well, because I'd rather sit and watch YouTube than I would normal TV.
Oh, same. I
I don't,
hardly watch. Most of my subscriptions are cut off now because I'm like,
yeah.
if I want my history documentaries, I go to YouTube.
Hmm.
If I want gaming reviews, I'm not going to go to the main media. I'm going to go
Oh yeah.
to like YouTube, and most of the like you can get full audiobooks read by a YouTuber. Like people, I've got the Witcher books there that I'm steadily reading through. There's people who make a living on YouTube just going, and I'm going to read the Witch book to you now, and it's literally legal because that's what the book's for. Like
Hmm.
they can't do anything.
But that's one of those ones I felt like I had to include it, and
Oh, understandable.
because just because how much of it I watch.
That's completely fair. I feel like
Mhm.
yeah, back in the day, I watched my like I very nearly included the Last of Us. But that's a game I've never played, but I've watched so many different people play it, and I felt like, mate, it's ironically PewDiePie again. I watched play Last of Us
Me too. Me
as a
too.
kid. Um,
Yeah.
because I didn't have a, it was only very recently I got a console. It was just before I went to uni. Thank you, student loans. That was how I got my console. Um,
Yeah.
so it's yeah, no, I get where you're coming from with Armor, because I that was how, especially when I was younger, I played a lot of games.
There's just such like there's so much to it as well. There's so much in the game, and do you know DayZ?
Yeah, that started as a mod for Armor
That
3, didn't
comes
it?
from Armor. It's just such a expansive and massive game. It's just I had to put it on there.
Didn't PUBG start as an Armor mod as well? I swear PUBG
I
started as
think
an Armor mod.
I think the original, yeah. I mean, I don't actually know about. I know that the game that inspired PUBG started on as a mod for
Yeah,
Armor. It's what was I can't remember what it's called.
it might have just been called Battle
It,
Royale, to be fair.
he, yeah, it's gone, but yeah, we're on this right wavelength.
Yeah. Okay. So my number six, barely anyone's going to have played this, and this is a very odd choice because I really don't like 2D platformers. I really do not like 2D games. I can't get into them. But my number six is a game called Oxenfree.
No idea.
So the entire point of the plot of Oxenfree is a group of American like young teenagers go camping, and then a lot of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff happens. All of the Americans are so confused by that phrasing. They start realizing. Trying really hard not to spoil it, because if I say too much, if anyone does go and play it, it completely ruins the game. But a lot of weird stuff happens. It's very, very 1960s, 70s haunted, like Blair Witch Project sort of stuff. But there is a lot of time mechanics. You can rewind time and stuff like that. Um, and it's going to be one we'll only glaze over, because if I talk about it too much, it will ruin the game for people.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason I love it so much is a very common pattern with all of these games. I'm very big on story, and the
Mm.
story of Oxenfree. I bought it in a Steam sale back when Steam sales actually were Steam sales. Like they're like, oh yeah, it's a Steam sale. It's gone from 70 quid to 65. Whereas back in the day, a Steam
Oh,
sale was like,
bargain.
yeah, yeah. Whereas Steam sales when I was a kid was like, oh yeah, this 70 quid game is now 50 pence, and the amount of times you could actually get games like 2 or 3 quid. But Oxenfree was just on sale, and I gave it a go, and I from start to finish in one gaming session I finished that game. It was one of
Mm.
those games, when you just get the rare game where you're just like, that's it, you're in.
Oh my god, mate! Yes, yes. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's one of that. It's like that's the only way, and we'll move on to the halfway point. You're number five before I do spoil Oxenfree.
My number five is I could have included several entries from this franchise, but I wanted to keep it to one,
Okay.
and that's I've gone with for my number five. I've gone with Battlefield 3.
Oh.
I It could have easily been a few. It could have been Battlefield 1, Bad Company 2, even Battlefield 4. But I felt like out of all of them, I probably played the most and had the most fun on Battlefield 3.
Fair, fair. What's ironic is Battlefield 4 is the one I played. Battlefield 4 is the one I've played the most of.
Battlefield 4 is basically just Battlefield 3.5 in a sense. So you've experienced the game pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's the same mechanics, the same. Although
Yeah.
what I must say made me laugh playing Battlefield 4 was the healing the tank, getting shot of like your tank getting shot and then going out and then just like, or if you got out of the tank. I remember in one I was doing one mission and the tank would heal when I got out of it, and I was sitting there, I was like, that's not how tanks work. That's not.
Realism.
Yeah. But what puts Battlefield 3 so high on your list?
I think it's just when it like I mentioned earlier. I think a big aspect of a lot of my placements on this list are the time they came out.
Fair,
And but
fair.
if you go back and you look at Battlefield 3 compared to even the most recent Battlefield game that came out, it's so much better. Like
Yeah.
it's like I remember at the time the graphics on that game were like things that it was one of those ones that like, people were shocked. Like it just looked so good.
I can remember playing the games around that era and like the lights are reflected in the water.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But it was one of those ones that it's like even it's. I think it still looks really good now.
Mm,
And obviously, coming out in 2011, we had games like Skyrim in 2011, which as
yeah.
much as it doesn't look great,
Skyrim,
if you go
yeah.
back and play it now, my god,
Unless you're heavily modding it on PC, Skyrim does not hold up graphically, which is why they re-release it every 4 minutes.
oh,
Um, as a side note, Todd Howard, stop re-releasing Skyrim and give me
yeah,
Elder Scrolls 6.
oh yeah, yeah. Another reason the gameplay itself was so good. It felt like it was leaning into the realism aspect without going too far that you felt like you was out of your depth. You know, like if there was a group of enemies hiding in a building, you could easily level that building with some explosives to take them all out without having to like go in and clear them all. Like you could bring the whole building down. You could bring like wall. If there was some people hiding behind a wall, you could destroy the wall. It was just it
It
made you think and it gave you options and it was so good. It was so good. That's the
it
most I can say about it.
it goes back entirely to that to the freedom
Mm,
discussion earlier that we are having with Wildlands and a lot of
yeah,
the earlier Assassin's Creed games. It's you feel like if the mission's like go to front door, shoot the enemy in the head, like yeah, okay, but when you've got that level of freedom where you can be like, actually no, I don't want to shoot, I don't want to stealth in and shoot him in the head. I want to blow the building up.
yeah,
I want to lay C4 on the foundations of this car park, and I just want to the whole. I'm just going to do the mission. I'm going to take out the building, and then I'm going to go home. Like that's so
yeah.
cool.
The reason that I put like the Battlefield experience above the Call of Duty experience in my list is that it feels like there's stories within the story, if that makes sense. Like I can go into a
Mm,
Battlefield game, especially a Battlefield 3 game back then, and I can have a completely different experience based on the round rather than Call of Duty, where it's kind of the same story every multiplayer game you play.
yeah,
Like I might be, there might be infantry, hiding behind tanks and slowly moving up a street. You might be defending for your life. It is such an experience that you don't really get much of it these days.
yeah. Especially with the enemy using the terrain, like moving terrain, especially like tanks. Like it's like that's how it would have happened in World War Two. I mean,
Yeah,
Fury is an amazing film to show how the tanks are utilized by
yeah,
infantry. As the tanks go forward and then the infantry move into the foxholes that they've taken from the Germans, sort of like. Oh, but again, this is why gaming is such an amazing genre or of entertainment because you can't get that from a film. You can watch
it
film, you can read a book, but you can be in a game.
it completely consumes you.
Yes,
Is the best way to say it, I think.
there's many a uni assignment that went to the last minute because I was making good use of my time, shall we say?
Mm, there is a big reason that I did not go to university, and I'm not going to blame it on gaming, but I knew where my priorities were.
It is ironic me gushing over gaming as much as I am because I went to university for TV and film. So
You traitor.
I'm fully. But my number five
Okay.
is I've spoken about this game already in this list previously. Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, I'm good. That's a good choice. I'm surprised that's not higher, but that's a good choice.
I think you'll understand why it's not higher when we get to the higher games.
Okay.
Fallout New Vegas this low was a very hard choice, and
Mm,
I could have very easily put it at number one, and it would have been number one if the other game that is at number one didn't exist. And the reason it
I
got
am on
pushed,
the edge of my seat.
yeah, the reason it got pushed further down is because so the way I rated it was a lot of like my feelings of looking back at the game and like remembering how I felt playing the game. Fallout
Mm,
New Vegas did have long stretches where I'd be like, oh, okay, this is the same. Because I refuse to do fast travel. I like to immerse myself in the world. So I'd have a lot of
mm,
time where I was just walking along roads. And much like any Bethesda game, even though Obsidian made it, there were bugs that needed to be patched away with mods. But every character in Fallout New Vegas is so alive, and every
mm.
story decision, like when I break into Caesar's Legion and he tries to negotiate with me, and then this encapsulates, yeah, exactly, that was immediately, and he tried to negotiate with me all of his legates, and I was like, if I do this, there's a good chance that I may not make it out. So I just pulled out my rifle, blew his head off, and then immediately switched into VATS and took out all of the other soldiers, and then legged it out of the camp because I knew I was going to die because I was outnumbered.
Yeah,
How many games is that an option where it's like, do you side with me, do you not side with me, and you go, actually, no, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
yeah. I'm just gonna kill the main villain of the game
Yeah,
like halfway through.
exactly.
Mm.
And then the game carries on. Doesn't
Yeah,
stop you. You just
yeah.
find new villains. Like,
It's a game that couldn't not be on the list. I think.
agree. Yeah, it's it's. I don't think Fallout will ever reach the height of New Vegas again.
No, it's just I don't know. I feel like it's one of those ones where you never forget a lot of your first experiences playing it.
Yeah, the first time experiencing a Deathclaw in New Vegas was an experience. Just turning around the corner. Also, to anyone watching who hasn't played New Vegas, when someone gives you a map of the quick route to get to New Vegas in the game, do, do the long route. You're not ready for the quick route. Experienced players can do the quick route. Do not. I'm not going to say why, because you can try if you want, but go to the
I'm an experienced player, and I couldn't do the quick route.
same. So yeah, the quick. When
I,
did you fall for that when the leak first came out? When it's like, go this way and you'll be fine.
well, I played Fallout 3 first, right?
Yeah.
And I never, through that whole game, they were in it, which was a surprise to look back on. But I never saw a single Deathclaw in Fallout 3.
Really?
They were quite rare in the game, or at least in my playthrough. Anyway, I have no idea how I never saw one.
That's because they're
But
next level enemies. To be fair.
but so then I go into Fallout New Vegas, really overconfident, and I hear this Deathclaw completely wipe the floor with me.
That's what annoys me. This is why Fallout 4 got nowhere near the list. Was because the first thing they do is throw you in power armor with a minigun, and you have to fight a Deathclaw, who is
Yeah,
relatively easy to fight. The whole
the
point of
Deathclaws,
Deathclaws. Sorry, go on.
yeah, they really aren't. Fallout 4 has a lot of perks, I think, but Deathclaws they really didn't do them justice. I don't
Yeah,
think.
they nerfed them. The whole like Deathclaws, they're a mini boss. They're a mini boss.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
like you see a Deathclaw, and if you will, especially if you're playing on survival mode, you will move away. You're not going to try and kill that Deathclaw for loot. Like every other enemy you probably will have a go, but
yeah.
Deathclaws you go, nah, sod that. I'm going the other way.
Even the design I thought was scary in New Vegas.
Mm.
Even though like the games didn't look that great, I thought that like the white eyes is just something that it's iconic. I think
Especially
it's
when
just
sorry, go on.
everything about the design just is to instill fear and just stay away from that thing.
Especially when you get like the irradiated Deathclaws.
Mm,
That are like,
mm,
this New Vegas just had. I mean, the fact that the other thing that I love about New Vegas is the fact that Benny shoots you in the head at the start of the game, and if you have the femme fatale perk and you're playing as a woman, you can sleep with him and then immediately blow his brains out, figuratively and literally, I'm assuming.
yeah,
But like immediately after, and I'm like, that's such an insane choice, like
yeah.
a path to follow.
Mm,
Just Fallout, yeah. It's like I say that because and what makes it even better is Obsidian was given a 18 months to make that game.
mhm, mhm.
18 months.
You can't even. How long was Elder Scrolls 6 taking again?
Yeah, exactly. And it will not be, and it won't be as good as Fallout New Vegas. I guarantee it.
Oh, I want, don't let me because I'm getting my hype. I'm letting my hype build, and that's their own fault.
All I'm saying is the last hyped up game we got from Bethesda and ZeniMax Online and all that was Fallout 76. That's all I'm saying.
Why you got to ruin my weekend?
Okay, right.
Real quick.
Yep.
What route did you go? What faction did you go with in New Vegas?
NCR.
Me too.
Not everyone I've met that went Caesar's Legion tends to be a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie. If you willingly like, it depends. If you went for it just to see the storyline, but the people who hardcore defend Caesar's Legion and like like if you do the Caesar's Legion story, they're straight up kidnapping women for breeding programs. That's the like the NCR is troubled, but
a lot of like the defense for Caesar's Legion is, like, yeah, they kidnap and they enslave her, but the NCR make you pay taxes.
yeah, like, listen, I have my opinions on taxes, but I would rather pay them than be enslaved to Caesar's Legion.
I like as well about New Vegas is that they went out of their way to show that like none of the options were perfect. Like the NCR was I feel like you naturally gravitate towards the NCR, but they are incredibly corrupt. And like you don't know if they're going to last, but you pick them because they're better than Caesar's Legion.
I also liked that the missions overlap. So like if you play Caesar's Legion, you get a mission to assassinate the president of the NCR. And if you play NCR, you get the mission to protect the president of the NCR. So it's like the two. Yeah, it's just, Fallout New Vegas is just unreal, and I will never back down on that.
Can you imagine if we got a like all the Skyrim remasters we've got, or not remasters, what would you call it?
Just the Skyrim ones are just I mean, the anniversary edition is literally just special edition with all of the Creators Club mods that they were trying to sell us for years that no one ever bought.
I would take that with New Vegas easily.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's being modded. There's a mod crew that's working on rebuilding it. The same as I do feel bad for switching up slightly. I do feel bad for the people who've made Sky Oblivion, because they're saying, oh yeah, no, there's definitely an Oblivion remake coming, and I'm like, imagine you've been working on that mod for since Skyrim came out, and then all of a sudden they're gonna remake Oblivion, which again
send you a lovely cease and desist.
Yeah, which I think if Bethesda's stupid, what they should do is just turn around and say, hey, we'll pay you to do the remainder of this mod that you're working on, basically, and then we can have it out in the end of the year because you're 90% done anyways, rather than paying another company to remake the game for you, or ironically paying another company to remake an older game while everyone's waiting for your new game.
Especially when the people that are already doing the mod, they'll have more love and care for what they're doing than just a contractor.
Exactly. The Sky Oblivion and Sky. I've spoken to the head of Sky Oblivion, Rebel Eyes, a couple of times.
Wow.
He's a nice guy. But they're so dedicated. These are guys who, we a lot of YouTube content creators, when we start out, we work and we do YouTube on time, so we on the side, so we're still working to a position that's going to make us money. They give up their free time to make a mod that they will never, because they legally can't, they will never see a profit on. That's pure passion. It's
respect. That's the kind of thing that's gone from gaming a lot these days.
Yeah.
Just a passion.
Which is why they should hire these people to actually do the remake. Okay. You're number 4.
All right, we're getting into the big boy choices now. My number 4 is Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Oh, do you know what? It was this close. I just took it off at the last minute. It was this because I can't say why I took it off because it will start spoiling things. But
I love the game so much. It is easily the best pirate game in existence. I think. I I don't think that's a debate.
For a long time, and even now, depending on what mood I'm in, I would argue it's the best Assassin's Creed.
I would easily. I can go back and replay it like once a year. Just even though it came out so long ago, I just every now and then I want to be a pirate.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and just Edward Kenway is on the opposite side of that, one of the best heroes. Because when he messes up and he does something bad, you understand why. And that I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't played it, but the prison escape scene,
Oh yeah, yeah,
emotional. That I keep meaning to do the TikTok where where it's like, do men even have feelings? Like they didn't cry at Titanic. I keep meaning to do a TikTok where it's just that prison scene, because
I would give that a like and a favorite.
yeah, like Mary's final speech to Edward is oh, it hits you. It actually hits you. It's because
Assassin's Creed is not on that level anymore. Like we missed that.
no, I don't as much. Even though I put Origins on the list, I would say that like Bayek's son and that hits nowhere near as hard. Him and Arminet's final discussion hits nowhere near as hard as this pirate who has revealed their darkest secrets to you and has become your like, because again you feel connected to Edward. So Jack slash Mary, and that's not a spoiler for the game. That's actual history, so I don't feel bad in saying that
Yeah,
Jack slash Mary. Yeah, it is Mary, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Like you feel that you're friends with this person. You feel you're friends with a very historically inaccurate version of Edward Blackbeard. Blackbeard was not as nice as he was in the game. But you like, you just, and that final scene when he looks at the table, oh,
I think that it's like the story is so good, and
mm,
even like you can completely forget that you're an assassin and just go pretend to be a pirate for a few hours.
you're not really an assassin till like the last hour of the game, if I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
rightly.
I mean, like going like doing like the actual assassins and that aspect of like the game, you can completely knock that on head and just go
Mm,
pretend, like, play a pirate game for a few hours
yeah.
easily.
Did you get this? Did you? I'm assuming you did because you say it's the best pirate game ever. But did you get distracted, like just going off and be like, I'm gonna get some resources by taking out some ships, and then you just spent the next 6 hours just shooting ships?
6 hours has been generous.
I,
It's so easily done.
there's so many times in like, oh yeah, no, just gonna go and do a couple of missions, and then I'll like the amount of times I was going out in uni, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna do a couple of missions on Black Flag, and then I'll be like, have you done missions? And I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna do some missions, weren't I? And I've
Yeah,
just gone around like sinking shit.
you want to like upgrade your ship, you want to upgrade your outfit, like this kind of stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just easily done. Easily
I
done.
also made the most money in Black Flag of any Assassin's Creed game. Like
Yeah,
back when you could set up revenue streams. The amount of times I'd turn to my mates, and be like, if I could withdraw the amount of money I've made in Assassin's Creed games, I would be minted if I could
yeah.
take this money out.
I get you, mate. What's your number? What were your number four?
Number four. My number four is the original Legendary Edition of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
That is an excellent choice, my friend.
I so when I was younger, obviously, as I said, I didn't live the wealthiest life growing up as a youth, and
Mhm.
so getting video games was few and far between. I grew up with stuff like Roller Coaster Tycoon, which would have gone on here, but I don't have that like emotional connection to Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. So I grew up on very simple games, or I would act as Captain Jack Sparrow. But the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, I can remember. I can like tell you the exact day I bought it. We was going to the eye test, the opticians, and me and my brother wanted to wander around town for a little bit. We wandered into game back when there was games everywhere, and
Mhm.
I walked in and I saw Skyrim because a YouTuber called Morpher had been playing it. Who's sadly no longer with us. Rest in peace. And I fell in love and I really wanted to try this game. And I went up to the cashier and I was like, "Do you have Skyrim?" And he said, "Yeah, but do you have ID?" I was like 12 or 13 at this point. I did not have ID. So I just went
Yeah.
back to the opticians to my mum and I said, "Look, I've got the money. but he wants ID. So my mum went back and was like, "Do you have Skyrim?" And the guy's just looking at me. He knows that I don't have ID, and I've gone to get my mum. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, and I'm like, "Please, my guy, just like give it a game." And he was such a G. He looks at my mum and goes, "Oh yeah," and like doesn't rat me out that it's an adult game. Hands me the game, and I'm sitting there, and I remember getting home that day, installing it, and oh, like yeah, I had no words.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's a game that's too like on the graphics side. I
No.
think that he definitely like he could have been a not very nice person in that, and just for no reason. But like, yeah, you can cut people's heads off, but that's pretty tame.
Yeah, it's there's a little bit less choice I feel than New Vegas, but I mean there's a reason that one of the most popular mods to this day is killable children because the children in Skyrim are so annoying. But
I don't want to play tag.
yeah, I don't care about who you're fighting in your feud. But
Yeah,
like just that's what I said earlier, like the Skyrim feeling of the when you come out of the caves at Helgen. You see the dragon, you see Alduin flying overhead. You look to the mountains of Bleak Falls Barrow, and oh, very few games. I'd say only Origins has really captured me that in that way.
and the thing is, all of it is like you can go there.
Yeah,
You see that over there? Go climb that mountain. Go do this. Go do that. It's such a Skyrim. Well, I don't know what to say because yeah, it might or might not appear for me. But it's a game that like you feel. It's a game that feels like it would exist without you there. It feels alive. That what's like
yeah.
people have their routines. The shopkeepers get up in the morning, they go to bed, like all that stuff. It's a game that feels alive, and it feels like it would exist without you.
Yeah,
You are just
you feel as though you're coming into the world and like this pre-existed world, this lived-in world, and as time goes on, like you do get a very much a sense of you're the greatest ever because you're in every single club and you're leading
yeah,
every single club by the end of the game. But you
yeah,
do feel this like you while you feel a sense of desperation to go and fight Alduin, you never feel forced to. It's at your leisure, but you've also you need to like hurry up and get it done so you can save the world.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's,
that's not. So,
you've you've also got all of the DLC was really well done as well. I thought.
Dawn got everyone who played that had a thing for Serana. Everyone had a thing.
What do you mean had?
No, I was waiting for that. Oh yeah, I would. Again, most popular mod was marrying Serana
Yeah,
because
I mean, like Serana, it's been 1,000 years. Get over it.
yeah. Oh, I would. I love that everyone like when Bethesda was like, you can't marry her. Listen to her backstory, and everyone universally said, okay, can we go and fight Moloch Baldwin? Like that was the DLC I wanted next. I was like, I want revenge. I want an entire DLC based around getting revenge for Serana.
Yeah,
Like,
that is my gal.
yeah, I would defend those pixels forever.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I might buy one of those. That people buy like the pillows.
The Serana body pillow. Well, from the TikTok I found the other day, you can get full on replica dolls now. That I was a bit.
Oh, that's crazy. Tell me the website.
That's crazy. Can I just give me your entire stock?
uh,
Uh,
that's definitely a joke. That's
yeah,
definitely
that
a joke.
is a joke. Do not check my internet history. What is your okay? Moving on to big boy choices now. What is your number three?
My number three is Halo 3.
I've never played it, but I know it's one of the most well-regarded games of all time.
It is so everything about it is so good. It's from the campaign to the multiplayer. It's so like the detail and the effort that's been put in. It's such a. I can still remember 90% of the game, I'd say, and I've not played it in a while.
That
It's just like it's at the time it came out at as well. 2007, Halo 3 came out. This was
it's
back
true.
when Halo was bigger than Call of Duty. This is
Yep.
there,
And look
there was
how
a
times
reason for that.
changed. Look how
Yeah,
times
yeah.
changed.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there was a reason for that as well. Halo was so like good that the campaign, the multiplayer in itself is an experience that not many games can replicate. It was just it was competitive, but it managed to stay fun as well. And I think a lot of games miss that these days. They kind of lean too much into the competitive aspect and kind of forget that this is supposed to be fun. you know.
Yeah. You get
Whereas,
the it's the biggest gift and like burden of modern gaming where they focused so much on the esports
mm,
that most like Call of Duties especially are now set up like you can see, oh yeah, this is designed for esports, like the little like 2v2 box room, just like no, it doesn't have the oomph.
well, there's a reason there's no modern multiplayer game on my list.
Yeah, it's
For
because
that reason.
modern multiplayer, like the only modern multiplayer I know, this is very very cringe, and it's not on the list because it's not a good game. But was in uni, I used to play a lot of Fortnite purely
Mm,
because it was a free game and all of my other friends were playing it, and so
yeah.
that like I very rarely play multiplayer, but it's like if it does, it has to be a game that's got good community sense, and Fortnite unfortunately has a lot of predatory business practices now that is making it very much fall from grace. That and being killed by
Fortnite
a
was
2-year-old.
Fortnite was one of those games that like I didn't have it on my list, but if we was going to do ones of like the 10 most popular, like the biggest games ever that
Oh
aren't
yeah,
my favorites, it would I could
yeah
at least
that
recognize the impact that it had and whatnot, even though it's not one of my personal favorites.
yeah
But going back to Halo 3, the campaign is where it's really at. You can play it with your friends, and anything that
that's
does
cool.
that in itself
Mm,
gets points.
yeah,
But to do it the way that Halo 3 did it, where not only was it fun, but it's fun to play by yourself as well as it's fun to play with your friends.
yeah.
And that's something I think that a lot of companies, they might struggle with. There's games that you might think like, yeah, it's fun with my friends, but if I'm playing it by myself, then it's not really it for me. But you can easily play it with friends or by yourself and have just as good of an experience.
Oh, that sort of game is where I mean Halo 3, the reason I know most about it is because every time I've heard an argument, so obviously for years everyone wanted multiplayer Fallout and multiplayer Elder Scrolls. And then we got Fallout 76. Um, instead, what people wanted was Halo 3 as Fallout, where you could play Fallout with your friends, right? And then we got
Mm,
obviously MMO Fallout, which everyone hated, and then Elder Scrolls Online, and then
yeah.
like the impact Halo 3 has had, even for me as someone who's never played the Halo games, because I can recognize that's what fans wanted, and the fact that that is used as the benchmark for a multiplayer Fallout or Skyrim, like it says everything, really, doesn't it?
Mm, yeah, I get what you're saying completely. I think there's so many like memories in it where like I can still remember like playing with my friends and you're with like an army of Marines and you're in these trucks and like there's this giant robot thing, this giant like robot, I believe it's called a scarab. And it's,
Yeah,
it's like kind of crawling along and you have got to like in these like cars you can do it in multiple ways, but it's like a giant tank basically, and
mm.
you're like driving around it, you're trying to tank it out, and it's one of those ones that is like I will never forget that.
Yeah. It becomes, that's the thing. A lot of people that don't game don't understand that uh gaming has moments that become core memories that like you'll
Hmm.
remember for the rest of your life,
Yeah,
especially when you get to play with your friends.
yeah.
Okay, my number three Also, I just realised you did Halo 3 at number 3. That's a really good lineup. I didn't clock that earlier. My number 3 is another one that most people probably won't have played, but it's just what I like: multiple choice story based games. Life is Strange.
I've heard of that, but never played it. I've heard
It's
of it.
a it was a very good Square Enix game. I've not played the
Mm.
sequels. I played the prequel, where you play a young high school girl, um, which I shouldn't actually have this game this high on my list because according to Hollywood, I can't find myself inside a female character. Sorry, slight gripe and rant that we'll just do a
Yeah.
detour on there, um, but so you this young high school girl called Max Caulfield, and you meet her old best friend called Chloe, and you it's very much like Mass Effect 3. Your choices do really come down to two endings. That's really the only amount of endings you really get. There's a
Okay.
third ending that's like secret if you do specific stuff.
Yeah.
But even then, it's impactful. Everything, because it's time travel stuff again. You can rewind time, and you can so there's never the urgency of you're gonna mess up unless you get stuck in like a tidal lock where you can't use your time powers, and that's really stressful because you get used to using your time powers like Max does, and so you're
Yeah.
sitting there going, oh no, this I'm like it will be things like where situations building up that you can see a character's literally going to die that you've like really gotten close to, but it's so good because it makes it even more stressful because you get so used to, oh, I've messed this up, I'll just rewind time, like,
Yeah.
it's the way that again you feel this world through Max, and it's just
Mm.
I don't again it's because it's so heavily story based. I don't want to say too much, but it's to anyone, get it on. Don't pay full price for it now because there's a remaster. And don't bother to remaster because it's only like a 5-year-old game anyways.
Yeah.
It's one of the remaster was a cash grab in my opinion, but it's just if you've got a spare 5 hours, you're never gonna get the ending plot twist. You no matter everyone that goes, I saw that coming. No, you didn't. No, no,
Mm.
no, you didn't. But oh yeah, Life is Strange is if it weren't for the next two games, it would be higher. Um,
Sounds like a fair choice, my friend. Sounds like a fair choice.
what is your number two?
My number two is going to be controversial as hell.
Oh,
I'm saying,
okay, okay.
look, I've got, I had to do it, so I've got two games written in number two, and I've left it till now to make my decision.
Okay, okay.
And it would have been one you already mentioned, but because you already mentioned it, I want to go elsewhere.
Oh, so
My number two could have been Fallout New Vegas,
okay.
but I am going to switch it up and go Fallout 4, which I know you're going to
Oh,
disagree with. I know you're going to disagree with that, but it's at my number two.
oh, a number two.
Number two.
I very much disagree with that. But go on. What's your
I knew you
reasoning?
would.
What's your reasoning?
Fallout 4 is one of those games where it's like, I'm not a fanboy. I completely understand that people have issues with the game, and I understand why they have issues with the game. I know it's not perfect. For me personally, I loved the experience of it. I loved, it was
Fair.
it probably helped a lot by the fact that I'm not getting into like the whole like graphics and all that, but
Mm,
because it was so much like of an upgrade on the looks, and like I felt like I was able to feel more in the world than I was in Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. For me, the reason I didn't put it on my list was just I felt a lot of the freedom you get in New Vegas was gone.
Mm, mm. I get there. Yeah, I get that. I understand that, and I get people had an issue with the voice actor. I personally didn't. I liked it, but I did miss the
The silent protagonist, sort of.
yeah, I did miss that. But at the same time, I didn't let it ruin my experience. I took it and I was like, well, this is it. I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, gotta go with the
I
role.
did, yeah, and I think a big aspect of why Fallout 4 is so well remembered for me is that it had the whole build up your settlement aspect. That for me was enough to have it as high as it is, because not only am I a part of this world, but like I hinted to earlier, I can build up settlements myself and have entire communities living
Mm.
in. It feels like almost, like you ever see like the later seasons of like The Walking Dead?
I was never a big Walking Dead fan, but I've seen the earlier seasons. I've seen
Well,
Herschel's Farm seasons,
that's fair enough.
and
Well, it's
I
basically
know of Negan.
yeah. Well, later on in The Walking Dead, and in a lot of like post-apocalyptic shows and media, and you've got these different settlements, communities, like we see in New Vegas.
Yeah,
You know, but in Fallout 4, you get the opportunity to almost like build these up yourself. Taken from completely like nothing. These are just areas that have been abandoned. There's nothing here, and you can take that and turn it into a thriving community.
but vibing's a very different
Well,
thing.
I'm sure they're. I will put. I always build a bar in every settlement so that they can be vibing.
They could chill out. I mean, I modded my Fallout 4 in so that the settlements built themselves up because I didn't like building I like it so I like the sort of as much as I was going on about freedom, I like it more when I can liberate a settlement and then I put out like a rough plan of what I would like them, and then the settlers build it up to what they want. And so as you
Yeah,
instead of me then taking 4 or 5 hours to build these houses, I get to then go off and do like all my adventuring, and I come back and I'm like, wow, this is what the settlement has built up, and then
yeah.
I negotiate trade between settlements and stuff like that.
Mm.
I do get why the building is appealing to people, but it's just for me the storytelling in four is too weak. The choices just aren't there. The actually I was about to say the companions aren't as good, but most of the companions in Fallout 4 are still pretty cool.
I, you know how we had Serana
Yeah,
Piper.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew
I,
everyone. I knew it. I knew it.
I am a simp, and I do not care.
I knew where it was going. I thought it's either going to be Piper or Kate because everyone simps for the Irish redhead, which is fully understandable as someone who is very susceptible to hearing an Irish accent and immediately falling in love with the girl,
Yeah,
and then like yeah, I can understand it. But I knew it. I was like, yeah, no, this is gonna he's gonna
yeah.
say Piper.
And the companions in Fallout 4 is again like you get the opportunity to build up relationships with a lot of these characters, and like similar to you do in New Vegas as well.
Mm,
But obviously you can get like quests and stuff from if you build up enough of a relationship with the people. And like with Kate, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that like she's got her issues, let's say.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
if you build up enough of a relationship with her where, to the point where like she considers you a good friend, you can then go and try and get her help.
yeah,
It's just things like that. I really enjoy feeling like I'm living in the game.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that's probably, even though I get like the building aspect isn't for everyone, for me personally, it is, and I enjoy all of that.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
Fallout 4 is just for me. It's the pinnacle of Bethesda's. Like, oh yeah, models will fix that. Like the death claws, as we said earlier, the death claws
Yeah,
just so underwhelming. I was the first time I
yeah,
see a death claw, I'm like, I don't want it to be a scripted event. I want the best way to see a death claw is like in New Vegas or she's saying free, where you hardly ever see them. Like if you come across a death claw and it sees you and you're like, ah,
yeah. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. Like I said, if we was doing a list where it's like the top 10 most popular games, it would not be on that list. I completely understand that, and I
yeah.
understand why people have issues with it. I just, for me personally, I really enjoy it.
That's entirely fair enough. This is,
Mm.
but as we said, if we if you disagree with our list, it means you hate Orphan.
If you disagree with my list, then you don't deserve to have an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. And now do you know what? Since I started off with some considerably controversial picks, I think I'm gonna get more mainstream now with my number
Most
two,
likely.
Dragon Age Origins.
lot less controversial than my number two.
Yeah, it's see. What would have been controversial is if I'd done what I wanted to, because I don't like Inquisition. I think Inquisition is a bit bloated especially towards the end. It's an all right game, but it's not. It doesn't have the magic. Like when I load in to Dragon Age Origins and that start menu music like the Dragon Age Origins theme is a classic. It's up there with the Ezio's family. Like it's like
Theme songs can really make or break a game, can't they? They can really
100%.
Yeah. My God.
But Dragon Age Origins, bearing in mind, I don't really like ice. The only real isometric game I've played a little bit of Fallout 1 and my Baldur's Gate streams is like the only isometric games I play. I normally play either third person or first person. And Dragon Age mixed turn-based strategy and isometric gaming with third-person gaming and made it fit perfectly. Every companion in that game you connect with and has a deep. Morrigan is one of the best female characters in a video game ever, and I will stand by that. Like she's so quotable. Her story is like because she's not a nice person. She's written as not a nice person. And yet you find yourself like, I just want to spend all my. To be fair, that actually explains a lot of my exes. But you get.
I didn't want to say anything.
I was like the joke's there. I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
But just the way that you understand why she's the way she is, and obviously you've got Alistair and Dragon Age Origins is back at the peak of BioWare, I think.
I mean, going back, she's no Serana, but you know,
yeah, she's no Serana. I would argue that she was the blueprint for Serana, to be fair, because Serana's a bit more goth and withdrawn, whereas Morrigan would just be like, I'm literally just gonna spell like set your face on fire, like because I feel like it.
I love a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, she is too. I mean, I think Morrigan's character is what holds Inquisition together in when she comes into that. But she's also voiced by I believe Claudia Black from Farscape. It's a very talented actress. I believe that's her name. That or I've mixed up her name with an actress of a different type of film because the way it sounds in my head.
Easily done.
Yeah,
easily done.
But Dragon Age Origins, yeah. I can hear the music in my head now as I'm talking about it.
Those are always the best ones where you can. There's games that I think most of the games on my list I can imagine the soundtrack, and it's such a big aspect of the game that we've not really touched on yet. But like so many of these games have massive like soundtracks and just iconic.
Yeah, and
really add to the experience.
Importantly, amazing story. That's that you just and again. You had the choices, and Dragon Age, I don't know what Dragon Age 4 will do, but Dragon Age has made all of those choices impactful, which is especially in Origins. I will have a controversial opinion here because everyone hates Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 is a good game. The only reason you hate it is because that you're locked into playing as humans. And that's the only way that's for the story, and everyone over hates Dragon Age 2. It's not a bad game. It gets too much hate.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not a lot of games, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I think once the hate bandwagon starts, the only game that really deserves to hate is Mass Effect Andromeda. How to ruin a franchise. Okay, your number one, the big finale.
Well, it's all been leading to this.
Yeah.
There's been a few hints. There's been a few, will he, won't he? But I think you're going to be able to guess my number one. My number one game, favorite game ever, Skyrim.
Wow. Okay. Fair play.
Obviously, it's on your list. It's lower, but for me, it's just It's not a perfect game, but to me, it's a perfect game.
No, that's entirely for Skyrim. Skyrim, a lot of people complain that it's bugging that, but I think its imperfections make it perfect. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game. It's not real.
Yeah.
Some of the bugs and some of the things are like parts that add to it. Like you've got the thing with the giant where he hits you and you go like 3,000 feet in the air. Like that's
Or the immediate thing, you walk into Rift and you see the chicken, and you're used to every other RPG, so you get your bow and arrow out and you shoot the chicken, and then you you have to run.
yeah, exactly. It's just like I touched on earlier when you brought it up. It's a game that feels like it would exist without you there. You know, the world feels lived in, feels alive. There's so much there. NPCs have their own routine, they have their own stories, relationships, and it's just being part of that world is such an experience in itself, and just something that you want to keep playing. You want to meet everyone. You want to do it. It's a game that makes you want to do every quest.
Oh,
easily.
100. I remember doing the Thieves Guild quest line for the first time, and going in like underground, and you're just like, you feel like this guild has been there for years and years and years before you like reached in. Like as you said, this is going to exist without you there, and then you somehow are pivotal to the story, but not important at the same time. And I think it's a hard balance to do that.
One they did extremely well, in my opinion.
Yeah, which is why they've released it 5 times at this point.
It's got. I feel like it's more than 5.
You've got the original Skyrim plus the DLCs, then the Legendary Edition, which is the one I played, then Special Edition, Anniversary Edition, and Switch. Yeah, so 5.
Do we count Elder Scrolls Online, or is that? Or are we doing that?
No, Elder Scrolls Online.
That's his own thing.
Elder Scrolls Online isn't really Skyrim though, because it's
it's his own thing.
No, because Special Edition had a re-release on Switch as well, didn't it? Which means it's 6, so it's had 6 releases. And it was released on the Amazon Alexa. So you've got 7 releases, so it was released 7 times in the end.
No, you're missing one. VR.
So 8 releases! It's been released 8 times.
Bethesda really like that game.
Yeah, Bethesda, like, I'm amazed that they haven't just started trying to re-release Fallout 4 at this point.
Well, Skyrim was a lot more popular than Fallout 4, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't it Bethesda's most popular game to date?
Yes, I believe so, yeah. I think it's in the top... I think if you look up the most popular games ever, I think it's number 17.
It's true.
Or something. Or it's in the top 20, somewhere in there.
Well...
But... Yeah, you ready? Because I was just going to say, obviously we've said before the music in Skyrim as well was another thing where.
Oh God, I get the theme. I for the longest time the theme tune to Skyrim was my ringtone.
That is respectable.
And
the memes.
Oh yeah, Skyrim is the most memeable game ever. It's just Did you get to the Cloud District often? Everyone has killed the preacher outside in front of the statue of Talos. Everyone has killed Nazim. Like we've all done the exact same thing.
I've got a clip to send you if you haven't seen it already. Have you seen where someone's taken the Top Gear trio and put them in Skyrim?
Yes, yeah, where they launch it and then the giant comes up to him.
It's like, wow.
It's brilliant.
One of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
It's just people come up with some, like, it's like there's actually a video for Fallout 4 where they put Garfield into it, like Bill Murray's Garfield, and it works so well. And I'm like, all I want now, I would go back to Fallout 4 if they did a Garfield mod. But no, Skyrim is.
That's my number one.
My question before I move on to my number one: Stormcloak or Imperial?
Long live the Empire.
I'm Stormcloak, man. I'm Stormcloak. I'm a freedom fighter. I don't like. Why would I accept the rule of an empire that brands the people criminals for wanting to rule themselves?
I was 50-50 until I got to, is it Windhelm? And
I saw
all the extreme racism, and I was like, That's not really me.
I mean, when it's towards the Dunmer, like considering the horrific things the Dunmer have done to the Khajiit and the Argonians, I feel like there's a bit of karma coming back on them. But the Argonians didn't do anything. Although I do love that in the lore, the Argonians are the only ones that when the Oblivion Crisis happened, they invaded Oblivion.
Mm,
I think it's done perfectly well because Ulfric Stormcloak makes a really good argument as to why Skyrim should be independent.
mm.
Because the Empire is essentially a puppet of the Dominion at this point, but I do understand and I will accept that obviously there is horrific racism amongst the Stormcloak faction, and well, I mean Nords overall. As you're traveling Skyrim, you get the feeling that they're a very racist group of people, especially towards elves.
It's one of those ones where, similar to what we said about New Vegas, where both sides have flaws and both sides make good arguments.
Yeah. Oh, General
It-
Tullius has
it-
amazing arguments as well.
mm, mm.
Oh, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, man.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You disappeared for a
Oh,
second. You buffered for a second.
I was just saying how I would have and have killed for General Tullius many, many times.
Fair play. Fair play.
One funny thing about that is, Skyrim, it's definitely aged because, you replay it now and like that battle at Whiterun where it's like, it's built up to be this massive battle and then like
It's
they
four
sent like
people.
17 guys.
Yeah, there's like 4 people. There are mods to make it more, but you need a very powerful PC to run
I
them.
don't have that.
Yeah, same. I've got a good PC. She's a workhorse, but I also, before we do my number one, I'm going to answer a few. Yeah, everyone keeps bringing up that I've got Discord notifications on. I don't know how to turn them off. I'll figure it out for next time. First time I played Fallout New Vegas, I was verified and got in a 5-person firefight within 10 minutes. That sounds like Fallout New Vegas. My friend had to do a glitch fly thing, so I went the quick route. The quick route is always risky, and I'm skipping over a lot of these. The last one, a question: are the Argonians the people who live in the Argonian forest? Yes, they live in Black Marsh or Argonia, and there is another name for it that isn't in the native tongue of the Argonians that I used to know because I used to be what was called a lawbeard, where you was sad, had no life, and knew all of the lore for Elder Scrolls. Which is why I get a lot of requests for people to tell me to open up a lore channel. Like when I'm a bit more successful and I can hire an editor specifically to save up time, I'll probably go into like Fudge Muppet Elder Scrolls style lore. But reverting back,
That.
oh yeah, I'd love to do it. We could get you on to do Halo lore and stuff as well. We could like make.
I'm down, my friend. I'm down.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what the future holds. We'll gotta get that first viral video to get me to 1 million subs. Just remember, guys. Also, if you're watching, me and Denizen do have a bet. Whoever gets to 1 million first, the other person has to eat a Carolina. It was Carolina Reaper, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
So
I,
got to get one of us to 1 million, so the other one has to eat a Carolina Reaper. This is going to be like in 5 years' time. We're going to regret this decision.
I would be willing to down that to first person to 10,000.
You are brave. I don't want to have the Reaper.
I've done it, and I'm.
Have you already done the Carolina Reaper?
I've got it on my. Not to plug myself, but I've got it on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, didn't you do it? And you've also done the Wings challenge, which was hilarious. The Wings.
Yeah, that was
You know what? I will happily do. Oh, happily lower. So okay, what's going to be 1 million now? If whoever hits 10,000 first, if Denizen hits 10,000 subs first, I will eat the Carolina Reaper. If I hit 10,000 first, Denizen eats the Carolina Reaper. Please don't make me a Carolina Reaper. Get me to 10,000. But my number one game.
Subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe, guys. Like, subscribe, and share. My number one game as we finish off where we're ending. My number one game, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Ooh.
Which up until a few years ago that would have been Black Flag, but as I've got older, a soundtrack. I'm not gonna lie, it's all. But right, all I'm gonna say is one little line from the game. The Auditore are not dead. I'm still here. Me, Ezio Auditore. And that's I don't, yeah.
That's a good argument. All right, we're done.
You cannot beat Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Actually, no, I just did a quote from number 2 to be fair, so that doesn't even really work. But just realised that. But the reason I put Brotherhood above number 2 is because you get that middle-aged Ezio. He's a little bit more cranky. He's a little bit more wise, and he's living with the decisions he made at the end of number 2 in his hubris, because he spares. Oh, spoilers. He spares this. I'm gonna have to spoil it too. The only way I can explain
It's been out a long time.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He spares Rodrigo Borgia not out of what he believes is maturity, but out of selfishness, because he believes it makes him the better person, and people he loves and cares about die for it. And then he quite literally gets used by Katerina Schwarzer for a one-night stand. Like, I love that that's the, like, Ezio, who's this massive womanizer, ends up getting played, which I love as like turn from the first game. And then the rest of the game, you're building up, you're helping Leonardo da Vinci, who's been captured again because you've allowed the Borgias to gain such power. And it's just also, I will admit, I know she's pixels, but Lucrezia Borgia in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood would smash. Even though she is a bit, she has some very.
I'm sure she would too, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would too.
I mean, I love the fact that she speaks to Ezio twice, including the DLC, and both times she tries to get on Ezio. Yeah, it's the middle of Ezio's story. It's one of the Ezio is one of I'm gonna say it. Ezio is the best character, not just in gaming, but in fiction.
Oh, we go with controversy there.
I don't care. I say this as a Darth Vader stan. I like Ezio has like such an emotional story, and it's just the only way I can describe Assassin's Creed, the Ezio trilogy overall, is beautiful. And I used to put it second to Black Flag, but as I've got older, I just, yeah, like running through the rooftops of Rome, especially because for me, it's like you're seeing a once great ancient city flourish into a Renaissance city that would like lead eventually to, like, at this point Italy's fractured, and it just, yeah, it's one of those games where it's too good for me to put into words accurately.
I think it's a respectable choice, but it's also a very surprising choice. I would not have imagined that being number 1, but at the same time, I completely respect that it is.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's, yeah, it could have gone lower, but yeah, Ezio's family is an amazing theme. The stealth works, and again, as we said earlier, freedom. I can plan out an assassination perfectly, and then I can mess it up, and the game will not give you max points or max sync, but you still you deal with that consequence. And I love the fact that the game will say, this isn't how the memory went, but this is what happened because of how you played it. So you have, like, again, Odyssey took that away, but you have the 100% canon version of events. So no matter how you play it, but again, you can then have the headcanon of, no, actually, this is how the memory happened because of, like, as I've played each game. It's just, yeah. And then we obviously had Assassin's Creed 3, and things started going a bit wobbly after that. But Revelations is good.
That's to put it lightly.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd say after Black Flag, I think things started going wobbly. It didn't go proper bad until, I would say, Odyssey would be the real downfall of Creed. Actually, no, Unity is awful. Unity is awful. And it's set in France.
That's not something I will argue. I will back you up on that one.
Right. I think that's it then. That is all 10. I mean, well, I feel like there will definitely be a sequel stream to this. There's a lot of games we both left off our lists, I think.
With it, I mean, there's so many like places we can take it. We can go like top 10 gaming characters. We can go like top 10 multiplayers, single players. There's so many places
Well,
we can
I've
go
I've
with it.
mildly spoiled my top 10 characters, to be fair, with my statement just now. But we who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind come then. But
Exactly.
yeah. Thank you for coming on. Before we go, is there any do you want to remind everyone one more time where everyone can find you? I mean, obviously
Yeah. So
your
if you're
link's
on,
in the title, so they should be able to find you quite easily.
if you want to find my YouTube channel, it's there in his title. It's Denizen TG1. I post a lot of videos there that I work very hard on, so I would very much appreciate checking me out over there. And on TikTok, it is just at Denizen TG. I will see you over there if I see you. But it's been a absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we went a little bit longer than I said. I do apologise for that. But
It's been, it's been a pleasure, mate.
it has been an amazing conversation, and yeah, to everyone watching at home, I thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you